Today I want to talk about prophecy that takes place during the tribulation. A prophecy that involves three angels. Angels are God's messengers. They help to convey God's message to humans, and they carry out spiritual assignments. There are several instances in the scriptures where angels were sent by God to convey messages to men. For instance, the angel Gabriel was sent by God to Mary before she conceived Jesus Christ. At the ascension of Jesus Christ, two angels stood beside him and prophesied about his second coming. So, angels are associated with the words of prophecy. The birth of Jesus was prophesied by an angel, and his second coming was also prophesied by angels. The prophecy of the first angel. The first angel preaches the gospel, warning humanity not to believe the Antichrist or take his mark. Revelations 14 verse 6 to 8. And I saw another angel fly in the midst of heaven, having the everlasting gospel to preach unto them that dwell on the earth, and to every nation, and kindred, and tongue, and people, saying with a loud voice, Fear God, and give glory to him, for the hour of his judgment is come, and worship him that made heaven, and earth, and the sea, and the fountains of waters. The wonderful thing is that this angel will fly around in the heaven close enough to the earth to be seen and heard by all humanity. I don't know how God has this worked out, but the angel will be able to preach the everlasting gospel and communicate with every tongue, so language won't be a barrier for this angel. The first thing we should take notice of is the gospel this angel will come to preach. Is this gospel the angel will preach different to the gospel we preach now? No. The only difference with the gospel that angel will preach and the gospel we preach now is the fact that he will be able to announce that the hour of God's judgment has come. We can only announce that the hour of God's judgment. But even if we, or an angel from heaven, preach any other gospel to you than what we have preached to you, let him be accursed. The second thing we should take notice of is that the gospel of Christ has eternal value. It then implies that if the gospel has eternal value, then its consequences will also be eternal. Those who accept the gospel will forever live with Christ in eternal bliss, while the consequence of not accepting the gospel is eternity in torment. So, the everlasting gospel has everlasting effects and consequences. And that is the reality of the world we live in. We all have an allotted time to accept the everlasting gospel, because we are told clear in the word of God, the second angel preaches the fall of Babylon. Revelation 14 verse 8, and there followed another angel saying, Babylon is fallen, that great city, because she made all nations drink of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. After the great flood in the time for Noah, God promised never again to destroy the earth by a flood. Humanity, in its disobedience and rebellion against God, disbelieved the promise of God and began to build the Tower of Babel, which resulted in confusion. And we see this play out in Genesis 11 verse 1 through to verse 9. during the early centuries of the Christian era followed that of the first. The second angel proclaimed the fall of Babylon and re-emphasized it. Any people or nation who fails to accept the gospel message of the first angel will inevitably fall. It is pride that makes a nation to turn deaf ears to the everlasting gospel preached by an angel. And pride has always been the forerunner of a fall. Although this is a prophecy, yet the angel spoke as if the deed was done. This is so because whatever God has foreordained to happen will inevitably find fulfillment. Babylon is a great nation, no doubt about that. But her greatness will not be able to prevent her from falling in the great day of the Lord. Clearly reveals that righteousness exalts a nation, but that sin is a reproach to any people. No matter how great a nation is, sin will almost effortlessly bring it down. The fall of Babylon echoes the righteous judgment of God over sinful practices. In essence, this angel will announce the fall of literal Babylon, which will be destroyed under the seventh vial. To understand this more, read Revelation 16, verse 17 to 21. The prophecy of the third angel. Revelations 14, verse 9 and 10. And the third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice, If any man worship the beast and his image, drink of the wine of the wrath of God, which is poured out without mixture into the cup of his indignation. And he shall be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of the holy angels and in the presence of the Lamb. The prophecy of the third angel followed immediately after the first and the second angel prophecy. The prophecy of the third angel is that of warning against the worship of the Antichrist. There is an inevitable divine wrath that would come upon as many who choose to promote the interest and the image of that awful beast which parades itself as the Antichrist. The beast will have an identity, and the third angel sounded a loud warning not to receive his mark. The mark, a loud warning not to receive his mark. The marks will be given either on the foreheads or on the right hands of those who worship the beast. No one would claim to be ignorant of not knowing the danger of receiving the mark of the beast, as the word of God gives us a prior warning. God does everything he can to warn people, but he does not impose himself on anyone. So the third angel will fly in the heavens, warning all of humanity in the kingdom of the Antichrist, that if they do take the mark, the name or the number of the name of the beast, and worship him, they will seal their own doom and be eternally destined to go to the same place that the Antichrist and the devil would dwell for. Believers who have remained faithful shall be greatly rewarded. We that are faithful and patient in our walk with God may walk in the paths of loneliness and seclusion on earth. However, our patience will lead us into eternal bliss. There is a heavenly reward for patience. God is not unjust to forget our sacrifices and all that we have forfeited on earth in order to lay hold on eternity. The prophecy of the three angels is a wake-up call for the believers to ensure that they are always on guard, patiently waiting for the return of the Lord. Heaven is surely worth of all the sufferings and trials that we endure on earth. while the rebellious will have themselves